Hello and welcome back once again to the Chariot series of myself, Critical Rocket, and here we are with the second of the Victors that I've been recording anyway, depending on what order they appear on YouTube for you, the 10 Delta. It's all the D's with the Victor. The Davian-made Victor is a popular assault mech. In fact, it was so popular, specifically within the Federated Suns, that it became kind of synonymous with their house, despite the fact that the mech wasn't actually built originally for the Federated Suns. It was actually built for the Terran Hegemony, or the Hegemony, depending on where you are and how you say it. The Starleague Defense Force did use them, but there was never a royal variant made. As such, it was actually built and given to all of the great houses. But after the ravages of the Succession Wars, only really one factory remained. Kurita tended to view the Victor as a Davian mech specifically, so they just basically refused to use it for centuries until dire straits of the clan invasion and a reviewing of it made them see the benefits of the mech. Now, the 10 Delta is a later development, when technology such as the Ultra Autocannon 20s and the like became more standardized within the Inner As such, the AC-20, that is the classic weapon, is replaced with a Ultra version, and the medium lasers become ER models, and the SRM4 becomes a Streak. So it's basically like a step up, let's say, of each weapon, and completely changes the way the mech fights. It's a pretty hefty design in the sense that it can double tap the Ultra 20 rather than doing a single shot, which means potentially 40 damage to a single location, with the downside of it jamming the weapon. Not a bad thing, really. The mech is a lot more fun than the 9 Delta. It plays much closer to how a Victor is actually supposed to be utilised on the field. Essentially, the Victor is a bit more of an urban combat or rough terrain vehicle. The rough terrain, the readout will say it's good for mountainous terrain. Obviously, it doesn't really have much of an effect. In fiction, yeah, it makes sense. In terms of how it was utilised on the tabletop, if there were hills or mountains in the way, this had a really good ability to basically hop over them, or to jump up to a higher position to look down and fire on targets. It made the Victor quite unpredictable and a difficult assault mech to really keep tabs on, especially when it was paired with faster heavies to basically make use of the fact that the flanking jump of the Victor was always there, an omnipresent threat to the opponent, and that's basically what the Victor 10D can do. It's much better in urban combat. It is a lot more fun to play than the 9 Delta, which had too much of a strong emphasis on the Gauss rifle and its range, whereas this sits in that nice, comfortable medium to short range brawling position. And that doesn't mean that it has the hit points to survive that. As I said, it's more about being able to reposition. Not really viable in MWO, and the jump jets don't really get you to that location, of course. But it does at least mean that when it does come down to the brawling, as it inevitably does in MechWarrior Online, you've got a much more rapid fire option available to you rather than having to worry about a charge mechanic. Yet, if you're careful with your Ultra 20 shots, you're not going to jam the weapon too much, and thus you can get a pretty decent amount of damage out of it. Now, that's not to say that I'll get a decent amount of damage out of it, but I know that many of you out there can, and probably will, if you decide to run the 10 Delta, that is. I do encourage people to try the Victor. It's a fun mech. As I said in the first video, it had a bit of a resurgence when the 9A1 came out, because for a long time the Victor had been sort of ignored, and I can understand why. There were other better 80-tonners available by then. But the 9A1 did bring it some life with its ability to suddenly mount triple AC-20 because of the ballistic slots. But yeah, I think the Victor is worth having a look at. It plays a little different compared to other 80 and 85-tonners. It is more about maneuverability, it's more about positioning with the Victor, so if you like to stay on the move constantly, it's a much better option for you. Whereas the Awesome is a bit more of a siege platform, works best at range, being able to do, if you were to customize it, you heretics, it would be better as a kind of wood boat or something that snipes at range with its PPCs, or if, as I said, if you're going to customize it, maybe ER large or something like that. And the Zeus is more of a support fire platform, not really front line, whereas the Victor is definitely up there, I think, with the Hatamoto as well, definitely more in line with getting up close and personal and delivering as much damage as possible with the team. Definitely not something I recommend to go solo, though. It doesn't have the armor to survive that kind of attack with the weapon setup. And it doesn't survive bleeding commandos that are stealth armored either, as I get harassed by that and something else. So yeah, those little stealthy bastards. Everyone else noticed that light mechs are actually the best assaults in the game due to hit reg issues and the fact that you hit the thing with like a fucking Gauss rifle or something, and you're pretty sure you hit the CT and it hits the arm. Yeah, it's always fun. Oh well, maybe a future game will actually fix that problem.
I noticed, Rocket.
Yeah, he notices.
I noticed, don't you worry.
Nobody knows who he is, and he noticed. So, yeah, I died. I still like it. I recommend trying it out. It's I think, to date, it's the only Innisphere mech build that I've ever had that's had an Ultra 20. So, I'm going to keep using it just because of that, because it's fun. I like it. It makes a nice sound when you pull the trigger. But the round is wrapping up. I think I did alright. I think I got a couple of kills there. I can't quite remember what the performance was. I know I killed that Nightjar or Nova Cat. I think it was a Nova Cat, wasn't it? I balls to the wall, shot that thing in the face till it fell over. So, take out a clanner. I think your job's done, really. So, yeah. 10D's good. 9D I'm not so enamoured with. It doesn't really fit the Victor's profile, personally. I don't feel it works as well. But you can see these guys, poor bastards, fly around trying to kill these bloody stealth mechs. Filthy stealth mechs running around and ruining it midday. So, yeah, it's a good old map. Just wait for this. Filming the time now, aren't we? Just with inane rambling. It's this poor bastard trying to fight this assassin. Ah. Constitutes form of elder abuse when they've got no weapons left and you're just beating the shit out of them and they can't defend themselves. But, here we go. End of the round there. Last Boyk's dead. Awkward ragdoll death that doesn't look the same on everyone's screen. It's always a different ragdoll death depending on what position view you have. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you have a good week. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.